Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Welcome to Declaration of Independence with Patrick Rooney, where we discuss how to become more independent in a world that is moving quickly to take away your freedom. All right, welcome to Declaration of Independence. I am your host, Patrick Rooney. Welcome wherever you are, anywhere in the great old USA or anywhere around the world. Let me know if you're hearing me okay. I think my mic is fine, but my hearing is a little odd. It's coming out of another place. So, but it's just going to be me tonight. So I don't have to hear really well, as long as I can talk well and show you guys some cool stuff. So hello, Fabian, Mind Over Energy is here, holding it down. Thank you so much for doing that. Time is running out. 2032 is here. Welcome. And welcome to everybody that is here. We're doing kind of I call it a special show. Hope you guys are having a great week, by the way. And all is well here. This is going to be a special show. We're going to deal with what I call the 5 steps to end mass shootings. Now, that sounds like maybe hyperbole. Like, what do you mean 5 steps to end mass shootings? Well, what I'm going to go through is going to be 5 steps, and they will, if followed, essentially end mass shootings in America. But it's a little bit of a cheat here, because the steps that I'm going to mention are going to help in a lot of different ways in America. That's certainly in the mass shooting category. So we're going to jump into this. And now, did any of you see this week actor Matthew McConaughey? He gave a press conference at the White House in which he talked about gun control, basically. Now, I like Matthew McConaughey quite a bit. I love his movies. He's a great actor. I've seen many of his movies, and he's top notch. Very intelligent guy. His background, I've read some of his book. He has a book called Green Lights, and I've read some of his book. Very interesting background. He grew up in Texas. He was actually born in Uvalde, Texas. And he had if I remember right, he had a kind of a liberal mom and a conservative father. So he was kind of pulled in 2 different directions. So he's kind of a little bit of both. He's got a little bit of both coming at him. So I understand that. And his background has kind of shaped who he is. And Fabian says, yes, he knows who Matthew McConaughey is. He's a dummy. All right. Well, I didn't call him a dummy, but hey, Fabian's not mincing any words here. I said he's too smart for his own good. That may be. So anyway, Matthew McConaughey was at the White House, and he, Biden, is a disaster every time he gets up on a press conference. Then he has this new woman who Jen Psaki left, Peppermint Patty. Now, she was terrible, but she was actually pretty good at her job because she could lie really well. The new woman that they have, I don't remember her name or know it off the top of my head. Maybe some of you do. She's a black woman, very liberal, and she's actually pretty horrible at her job. And she's getting pounded right now. So they're bringing in other people to hopefully kind of get their message out there. And Matthew McConaughey came on as kind of a guy who can see, he's kind of trying to talk to the conservatives and tell us, hey, you guys need to listen now, listen so we can kind of come together, liberal, conservative, we kind of solve the problems. Well, tonight's show is going to help solve the problems in a real way, because what Matthew McConaughey did was basically lay out liberal talking points, but said it in a way as if he's speaking to conservative people. So we don't play that. Okay. I'm not going for that. I'm going to let you hear a little bit of what Matthew McConaughey had to say at the White House and some other things that happened there. And you'll get a little bit of flavor on what he did. And he's an actor, so he's very good at, I'm not saying he didn't believe what he was saying. I'm just saying he's good at presenting, and he's good at pulling the emotions in. And to his credit, he was born in Uvalde, and the parents of many of the children that died, unfortunately, apparently called him and had him come, and he met with the family, which was really nice. And he told some of the stories of some of these kids who had their lives snatched away. So hats off to him for that. I have no, I won't say anything bad about him about that. That was a good thing that he did. But in that conversation at the White House, he's also bringing in what he wants the answer to be. And you'll hear a little bit of that and his attitude right here.
This morning, fourth grader Mia Cerrillo bringing the heart-wrenching toll of the Uvalde massacre directly to Congress. Cerrillo covered herself in blood and played dead to survive the Uvalde massacre. She's testifying today along with families of victims and survivors of the Buffalo and Uvalde shootings.
Gun access is certainly a driver of this violence.
It comes as the drumbeat for change is getting louder.
We need responsible gun ownership.
The White House getting...
All right. I think I screwed up the first thing. I don't know if you guys heard the first part of that, but I just fixed the audio in the meantime. So if you didn't, let me know if you heard that or not. If not, I'm gonna replay that again because it wasn't coming in the right way. So bear with me here, a little bit technical. So hang on, and I'm going to put that back on. You should be able to hear this one fine.
This morning, fourth grader Mia Cerrillo bringing the heart-wrenching toll of the Uvalde massacre directly to Congress. Cerrillo covered herself in blood and played dead to survive the Uvalde massacre. She's testifying today along with families of victims and survivors of the Buffalo and Uvalde shootings.
Gun access is certainly a driver of this violence.
It comes as the drumbeat for change is getting louder.
We need responsible gun ownership.
The White House getting a high-profile boost in its push for new gun legislation from actor and Uvalde native Matthew McConaughey. An emotional McConaughey and his wife, Camila Alves McConaughey, grimly highlighting a replica of a pair of green sneakers with a hand-drawn heart, worn by one of the Uvalde massacre's young victims, 10-year-old Maite Rodriguez.
These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that?
McConaughey pleading for compromise.
Can both sides see beyond the political problem at hand and admit that we have a life preservation problem on our hands?
Bipartisan negotiators now say a gun deal could be reached this week.
The American people are looking for progress right now.
Negotiators are focusing on stricter background checks, incentivizing states to pass red flag laws, and more money for mental health and school security. While Democrats don't appear to have the votes to raise the minimum age to buy AR-15 style rifles, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell is privately telling colleagues he's now open to it, according to sources familiar with the matter. Later on Monday, McConaughey saying that after speaking with Uvalde victims personally, he feels that this time is different.
The main thing that we got out of it was every single family that lost a loved one or a child said, you know what, I just want some way for the loss of my loved one's life to matter.
The House is expected to vote on a package of new gun bills this afternoon. But again, this is all really hinging on the Senate. It is all very fluid, and we're now hearing negotiations could stretch into next week, Savannah.
Yeah, there's a lot here. And yes, he got angry, which was kind of interesting. Kind of pounding on the podium and getting angry. A lot of people get angry at things that they can't control, or when they want to have more control. And, I understand the emotion that is out there after these killings. On the other hand, pounding on the podium and lecturing America because you have a platform, really, okay, you're born in Uvalde. Okay, that's wonderful. And you're with the families. That's all great. But you're basically an actor, and that's fine. It doesn't mean because you're an actor, you can't speak out. But on the other hand, because you're an actor doesn't make you any more special than anybody else who's speaking out. So I think Matthew McConaughey is a bit dazed and confused here. If you guys remember the movie Dazed and Confused that he was in, and I'm making fun of the guy, but he's dealing with something emotionally, and what he's doing. Hey, if you want to tell people how to think about gun control, that's on you. But don't try to fool us and say, hey, let's everybody come together and then implement left-wing gun control. That's not coming together. That's coming over to their side. And I looked at the YouTubes after this of his speech, and people loved it, especially those who are watching on ABC or some of the left-wing platforms. They loved it because they're left-wing, and they think, well, Matthew McConaughey can kind of convince some of us to come along to the left-wing side. Yeah. Fabian said he's being used because people follow famous people too much. Trump, unfortunately, a good example. Oh, you had to bring Trump in. But yeah, he's definitely being used, and that's unfortunate. I saw that immediately, that Biden is being used, but Biden's handlers are using Matthew McConaughey right now, and they're using him, getting him through his anger. That's often the way that we are used as human beings, is through our anger. Let me show you. You may not know another movie that I found out that Matthew McConaughey was in. That's kind of interesting, given the fact that he just lectured us about gun violence. Anybody know the name of this movie? I'll give you a couple seconds. Anybody know the name of this movie? All right. This movie, believe it or not, is called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: Next Generation. Yeah. Matthew McConaughey, he read for a small part in this movie many years ago. I think it's around 2010 or something like that. And actually, when he was in there reading for that part, I found out that he got a chance to read for the part of the heavy, the evil guy, the really heavy guy. And he just did on the spot. He did a screen test. And there was a girl there that was not an actress, but she was just working in the office, and she played one of the roles. And Matthew McConaughey went up and grabbed her and took like a spoon. He found a spoon in the kitchen and put it up to her neck and said, like, I'm going to kill you. And I guess he did such a great job that they gave him the role as the heavy, which was kind of interesting and funny. So I'm not knocking the guy again. Hey, if you want to be in this kind of movie, you're an actor, I guess you can play whatever you want. But lecturing people while you're in a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Think about what redeeming qualities do these kind of movies really have? And do they not get people thinking who maybe already have some problems, get people thinking about some very violent things? We know that Hollywood has been pushing violence for so long. We know that that's creeped up more and more into the culture because of the movies that Hollywood puts out, because of the music that gets put out. We know these things affect people, the video games and things like that. And to just kind of walk away from that and pretend that those things don't affect people, and then lecture us and tell us how we need more gun control. We don't need more gun control. The people who are legitimately own guns control quite well, and whatever they don't control is against the law, and they will have to suffer for that. So let me show you something else here. Yeah, Fabian's got a lot. I can't keep up with all Fabian's comments. But yeah, now I remember when I was a young man, I was 17 years old, and I used to love movies. I've always loved movies my whole life, but I love movies like The Deer Hunter, Apocalypse Now. I saw them, later on, they don't seem as great as they used to, but in those days, I loved some of those movies. I'm going to show you a picture of one of them now. I kind of gave this away. I was going to ask you if anyone remembers this movie. That's Christopher Walken. And that's in the movie The Deer Hunter. It's almost a 3-hour movie. Great movie in a lot of ways. Robert De Niro was in it as well, and they played this great scene together. They were prisoners of war in Vietnam, and they were in a prison camp, and they were being really harshly treated by the Viet Cong. And they ended up getting in this game of Russian roulette. You know, it's funny. I remember I have a friend, and after the movie, we'd watch movies and we get kind of jacked up and got all excited about it. I remember I used to have this little cap gun. I had this little cap gun, and and you could shoot it, and it would make noise, and it looked like a real gun, looked like a 45, like a Springfield 45. And I remember after the movie, we went out and, you know, messing around, having a beer, whatever, and we'd take the gun and we would mimic what we saw in the movie. You put the gun to our head and then pull the trigger, and have like caps, and one of it'd be in the barrel, it's Russian roulette. So one of the times it will fire out of the 5 or the 6 that are in the chamber, and we'd play a game of Russian roulette with the cap just for fun. But this is the kind of thing that stupid teenage, especially boys, will do. And they are affected by these movies, very much so. And these movies, when they affect us, it's like the culture that affects us badly through these movies is also the people who are in the media are also part of that same culture. And on one hand, they overdo it in these movies and get a culture up of shooting and like a gun culture, a violence culture, a really sick violence culture. And then they turn around and use that same excuse to take away the guns from law-abiding people. It's a very interesting dynamic at work. I got some comments here, and I should start reading some of them. Fabian, I don't know where to start with you, man. You got a lot of comments here, but Depp movies are great. Johnny Depp. I like Johnny Depp more and more after that trial, to tell you the truth. I think he stood up for himself well. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he stood up for himself and didn't take when that woman was talking stuff about him that obviously wasn't true, at least based on the outcome of the trial. Do you eat? I don't even know what you're saying here. Something about chopsticks. All right. Let me move on here, but you guys get the idea. Another movie, like, just give me a couple of more examples of the pop culture here and what they do, and how the pop culture, when it just helps destroy a culture, nobody really talks about it. These people become elevated in the culture. Robert De Niro gets awards, right? These people get awards. Here's a movie. There's a guy named Quentin Tarantino, right? You guys know Quentin Tarantino made a movie once upon a time in Hollywood. I haven't seen that one yet. I heard it's probably pretty good. But Quentin Tarantino did movies like Reservoir Dogs. And in his movies, he uses violence just as no need for it. He'll just bring violence into his movies. He'll have people like getting an ear chopped off or something, or he'll show torture and things like that. There's a movie that I really loved when I was younger, when I thought this was really cool. It was called Pulp Fiction. And in this movie, you've got John Travolta on the left here, and you've got Samuel L. Jackson here on the right, and they play a couple of hitmen. And the interesting thing is that Quentin Tarantino humanizes these guys. He humanizes these guys and has them have this great banter back and forth and very good dialogue. I mean, it was written as a guy who's written screenplays before. I have to say the dialogue was quite good, but he humanized these guys, and the guys that they kill, the people that they kill, Quentin Tarantino basically makes them look like chumps. So the cool people are the ones who were killers, and the victims are chumps in the world of Quentin Tarantino. Another example of that is in music. I mean, we've got, I know we got, I'm going to go to comments again in a minute here. In music, we've got, music has been as bad as movies, right? In terms of changing the culture. Remember in the old days, we had real music, nice melodies, songs that are fairly innocent, right? And then at some point, rap came in, and gangster rap and all this. And again, these people are allowed to do whatever they want. If you're a conservative, you can't say anything. But if you're spewing off all sorts of cuss words, whatever, you're raised up. You're given a lot of money in this culture often, and nobody stops what you're doing. Evil is at work in America, and bring the people down. The decent people are held down, while the evil people are allowed to rise. Good example of that is, and this is way back in the day, but this has gotten a lot worse even now. But back in the day, there was a guy named Ice-T who went on to become an actor. I mean, he was known as like a thug rapper, but they gave him I think he did a CSI series, and they elevated this guy, made a lot of money. And here's one of his early songs. It's called Cop Killer. This guy made a song about killing police officers. Nobody did anything about it. Some people criticized it, but it was allowed to go on, no problem. This guy was given a series. This guy was raised up. These people are raised up in our culture, and they're the lowest of the low. And they are raised up in our culture, and we wonder why we're having problems with guns. All right, let me get a few comments here before I move on. And let's see here. Yeah, Fabian said I just like movies like that. I used to like movies like that. I used to like movies like that. I used to like movies like that, but I don't like them anymore. That's for sure. When really they would be very wicked, mean, real life people. Yeah. So basically, America is going to hell in a handbasket. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So it's the culture is the driver here, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit here. Let me make one more statement about the culture before I move on to the 5 steps. Okay. But I'm kind of setting the stage for the 5 steps to end mass shootings. And you can kind of see where some of this is going. Well, you remember back in the day, of course, remember Malcolm X? And he said something very interesting about the media. I was talking about the news media and how the culture corrupts us. And then the news media comes around and plays off of that to take our rights away. And he said something many years ago very interesting about the media. He said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Very, very interesting. Now, he was talking, I'm sure, about Black people back in the day. But today, the oppressors are the people in power, and the oppressed are people of all colors who are being oppressed. And the media is on the side so clearly these days of the oppressors. All right. So that being said, I am going to move on to step number 1. By the way, if you like what you're seeing at all here, you want to see more of it, subscribe to the channel. Just subscribe, hit the subscribe button there. And if you want to know when I'm putting out live streams and things like that, just hit the bell icon, click the bell icon, and you will be able to see that. Sticks Bass says, I like Equalizer movies. You like the Equalizer? I don't think I've seen Equalizer. Now, I'm giving my age away, but back in the day, we'd see movies like, Clint Eastwood, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, or Dirty Harry series, right? Or Denzel Washington. He's got a lot of great movies like that. Maybe the Equalizer is a Denzel series. Who is the main character in the Equalizer series? Sticks Bass or somebody? Let me know who that is, because I don't know, but I love Denzel Washington movies, that's for sure. Okay, so let me talk about step 1. And these are to end mass killing. Now, they're not, the steps here are not going to end every single mass killing. America has always had, some gangsters who are wiping each other out or things like that. That is still going to occur to some extent. But I can tell you, we never had mass school shootings until Columbine. It was about 30 years ago or so, whatever that was, 30, 35 years ago. And we didn't have that till Columbine. So that is a new phenomenon. Back in the day, you could bring people would bring their rifles to school, and they would shoot rifle. They would have shooting practice. They would go either for ROTC, or they would have some kind of shooting practice, whatever. They bring their rifles to school. That wasn't all that long ago. There were no mass shootings at that time. We didn't have all the regulations. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? And the first step to ending mass shootings, and really, if we do step number 1 the right way, you can pretty much end it there. I don't even need the next 4, although they're great additions. But if we do the first one right, then that would do it. Okay. The first one is step 1: acknowledge God as a source, the source of knowledge, the source of wisdom, the source of all the blessings that you have in your life. If we went back to acknowledging God, and we weren't even perfect, America has never been perfect, but we had a sense of God that got us through and stopped us from killing each other the way that's going on now. We had love in our culture. We didn't have perfection. We had love, though. And if we acknowledge God, then we would, right there, we wouldn't even, I could end the show right there. But we have some other good stuff too. Here is something that you've probably seen. You've probably seen this quote before, but I'm going to put it out here anyway. And I'd like us to kind of chew on this quote for a minute, if we could. So it says, if I can't read it all, but it's a little bit, but basically it says, if the people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. We talked about prayer a lot on this show. We've done a lot of shows on prayer. They humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. What are those wicked ways? Well, we're going to get to some of that as well. Turn from my wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Hello? Heal their land, okay? And this is said, this is not the only place. It says 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. This is not the only place that this is said in the Bible. It's not the only place it's there. And excuse me. I remember saying this one time in an article, I think, and somebody said to me, "Oh, that was back in ancient Israel. That's back in ancient Israel, but that doesn't go now. That was just that time there that he said he was telling the Israelites, hey, you have my name, and if you guys turn from your wicked ways, I'm going to heal your land." And so it's only meant for that time. But I've seen that in number of places. I was even reading. I flipped open the book of Jonah today. Jonah chapter 3, verse 10. Okay. And it even said right in there, Jonah was the guy swallowed by the whale and all that. He's the guy that ran away from God, didn't want to do what God told him to do, got thrown in the water, swallowed by the whale, right? All that stuff. Well, here's what it says towards the end of the book of Jonah. It said, God saw their efforts to renounce their evil ways, and God relented about the disaster which he had threatened to bring on them. And he did not bring it. He did not bring the disaster. Okay. And you can find it, though. Many of you read the Bible, probably, much more than me, some of you. And you could probably give me a number of examples where God was going to do something to a people and he relented because they came back and they sought his face and they humbled themselves and came back to God. And that's a beautiful thing. And if we were to do that in our lives, we keep looking for these technical solutions to everything. Oh, we got to do this. We have disasters that happen. Nobody ever mentions disasters being caused by God, right? Acts of God. It even says that in insurance policies still to this day, acts of God. But every time something happens, we always divorce God from it and pretend like there is no God that caused any of this stuff. God is causing everything. God even says in certain books that he brought in the good leaders and the bad leaders too. And he brought, like Israel, he called another nation to come and make war on Israel. He's controlling the good and the bad too. He's controlling everything. and people want to think that we're controlling everything. It's really, really crazy. All right. Fabian says they need to stop teaching the communist lie of macroevolution. It is I can't even read this, teaching of doubt of God and Bible. No wonder these possessed kids go back to school and shoot it all up. Yeah. You have no God. You have no order, no love. You have nothing that's going to hold you in place. It's very, very sad. Valiant Thor is here. And he said, Valiant Thor said, how about instead of sending $40 billion to Ukraine, we spent that money on securing hospitals, schools, and communities. Yeah, that's nothing. Again, I'm not against helping Ukraine out. We did a whole nother show on this. We've done several shows on this. But yeah, we definitely need to help America to look out for number one, which is America for sure. Here's another quote. I'm not throwing new stuff at you guys. This is something you might not have seen for a while. Maybe some of you have never seen this. I don't know. But here's another one. And this is just right on point. This is John Adams, okay, talking about our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. John Adams, second president of the United States. His son, John Quincy Adams, was, I think, the seventh president, and also a brilliant guy. Also, John Quincy Adams helped get rid of slavery in the United States. So these are, do you guys hear this? Have you ever heard quotes from people like George Washington, the father of our country? Oh, yeah, but he had slaves, right? So we can't listen to him, right? These people were God-fearing, not perfect men, but they were God-fearing men. And they knew, and the Constitution, the Declaration are obviously inspired by God. They're brilliant documents. And these people, God definitely had his hand on this country and the founding of this country. And if we really want to look for a model of what to do, look no further than the founding fathers. So yeah, John Adams was right on about that. All right, I'm going to go to step 2. Step number 2, how to end mass shootings. And again, there are other steps, and we can look down the steps, and there are some additional ones. I'm giving you the top 5 that if we do these things, we're golden. God will hear what we're doing and see what we're doing. And believe me, it's going to have a huge, huge impact. When I mention this one, you are going to say, you can't help but agree with me on this one. I don't know how you couldn't agree with me. And that is stop abortion. Stop killing innocent unborn children. And even now, they want to take these innocent babies, even after they're born. We're in the kind of society now where they're looking for ways to kill babies, even up to the time of birth and even after birth. It is so crazy. You cannot be blessed. You cannot be blessed as a nation if you allow the killing of unborn children. Can't do it. And in the killing of unborn children, we have become desensitized. How have we become so desensitized that we can't even see the utter evil of this? How can you take a innocent baby and just kill him in the most horrific kind of fashion, and then just kind of like write that off and don't worry about, it's a woman's choice, we don't need to worry about all that, and then just walk away from it like it's nothing? Your conscience has to be desensitized to begin with to even do that or even think about doing that. All right. Fabian said this, the laws of preciousness of life. Jesus comes soon. Well, Jesus comes soon for sure, but in the meantime, we're salt and light, right? We're supposed to be here. Don't expect, we could do another show on this, but don't expect Jesus to come in a helicopter and pick you off the earth right now. You need to be here. If you're here so far, you haven't been plucked off the earth yet. Hey, you're still here. So join in. Don't tell me that you're all about the kingdom of God, but you won't do anything to stop. What about the precious ones? The least, what do they say? The least of my brothers. Okay. If you don't love the least of my brothers, you're not loving me. If you don't have the practical concern to do something about abortion or things like, there's not things like abortion. It is by itself. If you don't care about this or think that you're just here to float around and do some prayers or something, and then they're going to take you off the earth soon, and you don't do anything about stuff like this, then you're crazy. You're just crazy, and you're being deceived. Don't let the devil deceive you. Don't let the devil deceive you. So, there's other things too, not just abortion. There's wanton killing out there. There is humans, what do you call that? Sex slavery. What do they call that? Human trafficking, sex slaves. It's all the same. People talk about slavery today, and people are complaining. We have, on one hand, we have two camps. The people were being pushed into camps to either be a victim or a victimizer. So people, some people want to keep talking about slavery and be a victim, and other people, are put in the role of being a victimizer, even if they haven't victimized anyone. So yeah, there are things that are bad that are happening right now, but there is slavery that's going on right now. There's always been slavery, by the way, in every country. America is one of the few countries that actually got rid of slavery. But people don't want to talk about that. But there is slavery going on right now, all over the world, in Africa too. There's sex slavery going on all over the world, human trafficking all over the world. This stuff is going on right now. And we need to stop this stuff. We need to do whatever we can to stand up. How many times you ever read the Bible? How many times it says to stand up for the widow and the orphan? And if you're not doing these kind of things, then you're not really a follower of Jesus Christ. Stand up for the people that need our help. All right. Am I preaching here? I'm not trying to. Comment. I'm saying ultimately Paul will be stopped by Jesus and his army. Yeah, ultimately, Fabian. It's very hopeful to see that, but not an excuse not to act. That's right. Not an excuse not to act. We got to do something about what we see. Didn't Peter say in the Bible, it's not just be doers of the word, right? You don't just hear the word, but be doers of the word. Okay, I'm going to go on. Oh, before I go on to number 3, let me mention something that happened in the Bible that was maybe like abortion. I'm not an expert on this. Maybe some know this better than me. There was a God. And remember how angry our God gets when he sees us bowing down to like idols. And the idol could be like an actual idol, or it could be an idol of money or prestige, or, whatever it is. There's a lot of idols that are out there. But back in the day, there was a God, and the God was named Moloch. Moloch. And here's Moloch right here. Now, this God was mentioned in many, I believe it's mentioned in the book of Isaiah, I believe, but there are many, I think several books in the Old Testament that mention this God called Moloch. And what people would do, you see like a bunch of smoke around this guy. There would be a big fire below, and it would heat up this idol. And you see him reaching his hands out, the hands would get very hot, and people would be convinced to give their, I don't know if it was sons and daughters, but they would give children and hand them to this idol. And I don't know if the idol killed them or just burned and singed them, but they were at the very least burning and singeing their kids. Why? Because somebody convinced them that this made sense, that they needed to do this to get a special blessing. It's kind of like, it's not unlike some of the things people are doing today, giving their children over to idols, many different kinds of idols, just giving them over because somebody said it was a good idea. So that's number 2. Stop abortion, end human trafficking, or ending them may be impossible in this world that we're in, but reducing them greatly. And speaking of abortion, we have a man who was just found this week, who was going from California, Simi Valley. I know Simi Valley. That's where the Reagan Library is. I'm from Southern California. I know it very well. He came from Southern California all the way over to the East Coast, Virginia or Maryland, where Justice Brett Kavanaugh lives, because people were giving out, left-wing activists were giving out the addresses of Supreme Court justices that they didn't agree with, like Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and others. And they were getting their people to go there. The media, people like Joy Reid and people on The View, Joy Behar, were basically cheerleading these people to go and protest illegally, I might add, at the homes of Supreme Court justices, which they're only doing this for one reason and one reason only: to intimidate the Supreme Court justice, to intimidate them into backing off and not doing what they should do. And this all happened after the abortion. This decision was leaked out that they are going to be doing away with Roe v. Wade, supposedly. God willing that happens. God willing that happens. So this is what's happening. And a couple years ago, by the way, Senator Chuck Schumer, you know who Senator Chuck Schumer, this guy got on there and basically made a threat, a open-ended kind of threat against Gorsuch, Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Kavanaugh. Made basically an open-ended threat. And nothing to this day has happened to Chucky Schumer. Chucky Schumer needs to be arrested. Chucky Schumer needs to go to jail. I'm going to show you the threat right now. It's very simple. It's a very short video. It's very obvious. There's no way he can talk himself out of this one.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Chucky Schumer needs to be in jail. I'm tired of two sets of justice here. One set of justice for us or people who voted for Trump. You can see what happened. There's people in jail today. This boils me. I got to do a show on this. There's people in jail today, sitting in jail, in DC jail, some of the worst jails, with ill treatment, people being beaten and mistreated in so many ways because they were somehow involved in January 6th. Weren't even charged appropriately, just put in jail and let rot. And nobody, it seems like, is there to talk about these people. Nobody's there doing anything about this. I've seen a few press conferences. My local congressman, Matt Gaetz, did a press conference there, and there was only 3 people, two other Congress people with him. And that's great. But we need more than a press conference here and there. We need a press conference every day. As far as I'm concerned, President Trump, God bless him, and he took a lot of heat as well. But those people showed up in DC for him and for America. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be doing a press conference every day with all the press he can get until those people are released. But the point is, we have 2 kinds of justice here. There's the kind of justice for the people in DC, the January 6th people. It's outrageous what's going on with what's happened to these people. But if you are Hillary Clinton or you're Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Sussman, you can be found completely, it's obvious that you're guilty. But they handpicked the DC jury of people that said that he wasn't. Why didn't Hillary Clinton herself go to jail? Look at all the stuff Obama did. Look at these people. Some of these people are apparently untouchable. And God willing that we have a set of justice that becomes the same. Look at some of the people, what they're doing with these shots, right? Killing people, masses of people. Nothing happens to them. These people have to be prosecuted for their crimes. We have to have one set of justice in America, not 2 sets anymore. I am sick of this stuff. And we got to demand one set of justice in America. Quit allowing it to happen. All right, I'm going to take a few comments here before I move on. Fabian agreed with me about Trump. Well, I'm not surprised on that one, Fabian. But he really should be helping. Seriously, Trump should be helping the January 6th people to get out of jail. This is crazy. How the only way this happens in America is because people are not paying attention to it. They won't show it. Fox won't show a lot of this stuff. Fox won't talk about the elections. Fox won't talk about January 6th. And other people are just brainwashed. They're getting one side of a story. They never hear about the people and what really happened to them, the January 6th people. They just hear a story. And now these people are out this week telling a story to the American people and trying to make us buy it. Unbelievable. All right, Sgt Francis. Hello, Sgt Francis. Said Eric Holder committed a crime and he did not even get prosecuted. Fast and Furious. He did. He ignored a congressional subpoena. Yeah. I mean, they got, I'm trying to remember back to Fast and Furious, but there were guns that they allowed to go out there that were illegal guns, and they allowed the guns to get sold on purpose. In fact, I think they even had something to do with it. The government did. And at least one of these guns ended up being used to kill a border patrol officer. I mean, what are you waiting for to put people in jail? It's just unbelievable. All right. Fox sold out long ago, unfortunately. I only look at Fox online to see, I look at them first thing in the morning, a few times a day, to see anything breaking. Honestly, that's the only reason I look at Fox. Anything breaking, and I watch Tucker Carlson. That's it. I know people that watch Tucker Carlson. When he's done, they shut off Fox because everything else on there is pretty much, I'm sure there's a few good things on there. There's a few good things on Fox. I'm not saying everything, but for the most part, if you're not going to talk about the elections, you're not going to talk about January 6th people, you can talk about it, and you aren't really going to get serious about talking about the shots and what they're doing to people. If you take away the things that are really, really important, you're just kind of dancing around the edges. You're really not getting to the nitty gritty of what's happening in America. All right. Let's see. Okay. Some people like Tucker, some don't. Stixabass says Obama and the Dems caused the financial collapse. Yeah. They help cause collapse. That's what they do. They collapse a government, they collapse an economy, which they're trying to do right now. We'll have to do a show in the future, or shows on this, how to protect ourselves against this, because recession apparently is coming at this point. So we got to get ready for that. So yeah, we get a lot of comments right now. Greg says, Greg, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. Greg says, I agree. Tucker Carlson is the only guy I follow on Fox. Yeah. Why would you follow a lot of these guys? I know some of these guys. I've known some of these people in the past who are on Fox, and I like them. I've been friends with people along the way, and I've met some good people. But at some point, I don't know what it is. Could be the money, could be whatever, but people get corrupted little by little. And unfortunately, at a certain point, they make you shut up about this. They make you shut up about that. I mean, look, I can't even say certain things I want to say on this platform. So I get that. They make you shut up about a lot of things. But after a while, if you're not dealing with the things that really matter, I mean, I'm going to talk about certain things, even if I have to pantomime them on this thing. And I do that, right? I'm doing this. I probably need other pantomimes for other things that I can't talk about. Maybe when we come up with pantomime, I'll just do a pantomime show. All right. So just pay any conservative millions for jabbering and watch how fast they sell out. Well, yeah, that's true. All right. Sgt Francis, Fox has a lot of good Joes, but like any large corp, they have a few bad things too. Yeah. I mean, again, if you're not going to talk about a stolen, how do I say this on this platform? But the guy that's in right now is not the guy that's supposed to be in right now. They've pretty much proven that. Okay. Enough said. All right. I'm going to finish going through the top 5. Okay. I didn't even get to 3, 4, or 5, and I'm going to move them very quickly right now. Okay. I'm getting a lot of comments still, but I understand. Fox, largely funded by pharma. Yeah, that's a whole nother matter, Fabian. That's true. All right. Sticks Bass says there's videos of Republicans trying to stop the Dems and prevent the disaster. Are you talking about January 6th? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I think you are, Sticks Bass. But anyway, yeah. January 6th was a joke. It was a trap. It was a trap. And some people on our side, because you have to be smart. This is why we do shows about prayer. Prayer is so important. That's why I talked about God here. If you don't have God, you'll do what Matthew McConaughey did. You'll get upset and you'll call for people's guns to be taken away. But also there's angry people that they knew how to get them mad and send them off to DC. And then they kind of like, come on in, right? Come on in. Yeah, take a little tour of the Capitol. Why not? And people came in, did some silly stuff, and they got burned. So there is definitely fault on our side here. And I'm mostly trying to talk to our side here because the left is crazy. There may be a few leftists here that listen, and maybe they'll get it at some point. But I'm trying to talk mostly to us, because if we can change the world. What do they say? 3% of American people were involved in the Revolutionary War on our side, something like that, 3%. If you get a minority, but that minority is strong and dedicated to something, you can change the world. It can be done. Unless God just wants to, fade on out and bring his kingdom in. That's a different story. I'm not trying to preempt God's kingdom here. But I'm just saying, in a human way, though, if you do what you need to do and go with God and get rid of your anger, don't get flying off the handle at everything, and be sensible, be good people and have love, then, you could change the world. You could change the world. All right. Let me see something. I don't even know what she's saying here, but I'm going to put it up anyway. I'm going to take a chance and put this one up. Sgt Francis said, if you want to change, Patrick, then you need to start learning Spanish, because Hispanics have gone big for the Republican Party. Yeah. Hey, man, whatever it takes. I mean, they should learn English, but hey, whatever it takes, man, whatever it takes. All right. Fabian says it's scripted, Pat. We are in Revelation. Yeah, that's another show, maybe. I'm just making a principle here. Whether we're in Revelation or not, let's agree to be salt and light on this earth as long as we are here. Can we agree to that? I don't care if you believe we're in Revelation or not. Let's do what we need to do now and let God worry about the rest of it. If we're in Revelation, fine. God's going to take us off the earth, fine. But let's do what we need to do right now. All right. Let me go to number 3 here. And I've kind of worked my way into this. Number 1, how to end mass shootings. Acknowledge God as a source. Number 2, stop abortion, human trafficking, all that kind of stuff. Now, 3, fathers. Hello. What happened to fathers? What happened to fathers? We have lost fathers. I know what happened to fathers, and many of you do too. Here's fathers. Here's a father, a nice young family here. Father leading a nice family here. Now, we know, some of us do, a lot of us know that the government ruined or helped destroy the black family in the 60s. Went in, they gave welfare to the woman. They said, well, yeah, I'll give you welfare, but one catch, can't have a man in the home. You got to go. So what happens? The government, and it becomes essentially the father, right? The man, the government becomes the man. You don't need the man, you need the government. So, and now that has happened, basically helped destroy the black family. And that ended up going through everybody, right? They worked out against almost every group in America to the point where they've destroyed. And again, I'm not going to blame it all on the government, because the government didn't force the man out of the family. The woman decided she wanted the money, and the man left. Okay. You can say whatever you want about that, but you can't say that the government forced that. Just like if the government planted some drugs in your community, you can't say it's the government's fault 100%. It ain't right if it happened, but if you take the drugs, then you're a co-conspirator, right? You're part of the problem there. So fathers need to come back in families and not just be there. My father was in our family. He did as best as he could. He did as best as he knew at the time. But he didn't know necessarily how to relate. Like, I never really had a relationship with my father, honestly. He did all that he could. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying he didn't know. He was a World War II vet. He was in the Pacific in World War II. He was on an aircraft carrier. And he saw Japanese Zeros dive bomb his aircraft carrier and kill his friends right next to him. He went through hell. And he was a Democrat. He was a Roosevelt New Deal Democrat, as my mom. But they were decent people. They were decent. But he didn't know certain things, and he had a rough upbringing. He had a very rough upbringing as well. There was a lot of stuff going on in his family. But he did as best as he could with a lot of insanity and stuff going on. So I'm not going to judge them based in a different time or what they were. I'm just saying I didn't get that. And I've tried to be like that in my family, with my son. But hey, I screwed up for a long time. I was talking the talk, but not walking the walk. Okay. I could say certain things that were good, but I wasn't living right for a long period of time. Pure and simple. And that came through to my family. It hurt my family, hurt my wife, hurt my son. But I saw the error of my ways. Thank God I woke up. And God helped me, help my family. And God, I'm forever grateful for that. So fathers need to come back to the families. They need to be physically in the family, but they need to be spiritually in the family and acting right. You can't just talk a bunch of stuff. Oh, woman, go get my beer. Go get my beer, woman. It ain't about all that. It's about being an actual example, a real example. And when fathers do that, again, that by itself can just about, with God and with stopping abortion, which these all kind of go together, right? If the father has no authority in his family, there's going to be, or the father isn't even there, people aren't getting married, then there's abortion there. By the way, a lot of the people coming over the borders now are Hispanics. You talk about Hispanics, Martin, talking about Hispanics. Hispanics used to be much more Roman Catholic and much more decent people as a group. They were God-fearing people in general. That has all changed to the point where I think as of now, the ones that are coming over the border, southern border, 45% of them are not getting married. They're having kids outside of wedlock, 45%. And it was never that high before. All right, let me take a few more comments on that. I'm going to go on with these steps. I'm going to move quick because I also realize so much time is going by and I haven't got to 4 or 5 yet. I've got to get to 4 and 5 before we end here. Hang in there with me because I got another video you guys got to see as well. Okay, let me see your comments here. Yeah, Stixbass says, that's how I grew up. My father was a Dem and had a lot of illegit kid with multiple women. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, man. But again, we need to overcome that. We need to overcome, forgive, and move forward. Fabian is asking me, what was his duty? My dad, a gunner. No, he was not a gunner. He was the guy, if you watch the movie Top Gun, what my dad did is he's the guy who pulled the cable out and put the cable across so that when the plane was landing on deck, it would come and it would stop at some point. It would go right off the runway, right? Because the runway, it's a small runway on an aircraft carrier, but the cable stopped it from going too far. My dad was married when he went into World War II. It's weird to look at me and say, do I have a dad that was in World War II? Yes, I do. He's no longer with us, but my dad was actually married, and I think he was 33 years old or so when he went into the service. I don't know. He must have been conscripted, but most of the guys that he was fighting with were like 19 years old. So he was like a married dude of like 33. What a trip. He had a lot of war stories, man. Most of them we didn't hear. Most of them, a lot of those stories, those guys don't tell you because they're really rough stories. So that's the story on that, Fabian. Let's see. let's see. Yeah, so that's what my dad did. And I'm proud of my dad for that. I'm proud of my dad for flying the flag. The flag, got a flag behind me here, right, on the sailboat. He flew the flag on all the holidays. He always brought the flag out. My dad had a lot of issues, but he loved this country, and he flew the flag, and he stood up for this country. Back in the day, we had Democrats and Republicans, and we didn't agree. They didn't agree. It wasn't me at that time, but they didn't agree on a lot of stuff, but they knew how to have a society together without ripping each other apart because they had God. They can have disagreements, but they had God. They didn't have abortion going on. I'm sure there's some back alley abortions or whatever, but it was not legalized until 1973 when I was 13 years old. So back in the day, they did not have that. All right, let me go to step 4. We got to acknowledge God. We got to stop abortion. We got fathers back in the home. Oh man, this will be a little controversial. Step 4. This might be a little controversial. Hang with me because you're going to want to hear 4 and 5. I'll get to them as quick as I can. We need real pastors in the church who love God, okay, and who walk the walk. They don't just talk about stuff. They actually do the right thing. Real pastors in the church. And here's an example of one of them. Well, that's actually the wrong one, but that's a good example of a pastor there as well. But that's the picture I wanted to show you. We need men that are willing to lead by example, who really trust and believe in God. And I'm going to show you, I was going to do this a little bit for a little entertainment thing. Although there's some very serious issues in here. I'm not making light of any of these issues here, but I wanted to show you, I was looking up something I could show you guys about kind of like crazy stuff that preachers do and stuff like that. And I happened to just find one. It was not from America. It was from South Africa. So let me see if I can find this here for you. It's from South Africa. So it's not America, but it's interesting. It's a little bit comical in some ways, but serious in other ways too. And what these guys are doing in South Africa is not all that different from what some preachers are doing in America. So let me show you guys this. It's a little bit long. It's a little over 3 minutes, but I think you'll enjoy it and you're going to get something out of it.
In 2014, Pastor Daniel Lesego made headlines when he told congregants to eat grass because it would bring them closer to God.
Did anyone die when they eat grass? No! Did anyone die when they drink petrol? No! Those who drink or eat, they never lay a charge or complain. Those who did not and were never there, they are complaining.
And then there was Panuel Mguni, dubbed the Snake Pastor. The Soshanguve-based prophet made headlines in 2016 for feeding his followers snakes and rats.
These animals, God made them for us to eat. Amen.
During that same year, Incredible Happenings Ministries Pastor Paseka Mutswaneng, known as Pastor Mboro, was alleged to have claimed he'd been to heaven. But he's since denied the allegations.
The issue I went to heaven. Yeah. I did selfies. I'm teaching that in this church.
Timothy Omotoso is a flamboyant Durban-based pastor of the Jesus Dominion International Church. He was arrested in 2017 on charges related to the contravention of the Sexual Offences Act. While Omotoso denies the charges, his alleged victims tell a different story.
He put his penis in between my thighs and he shoved in between my thighs. I was a virgin at the time, so he took caution and he fell asleep.
Another controversial pastor is the wealthy prophet Shepherd Bushiri. He once sold tickets to a gala dinner in his honor for between 1,000 rand and 25,000 rand. Major One, as he's called by his followers, was recently arrested, along with his wife, on fraud-related charges. His followers believe he's innocent.
We believe that our father is innocent until the court of law. So our Baba has been released for him to go on and address his congregants. We are waiting for him.
Last month, Pastor Aflagao made headlines when a video of him allegedly resurrecting a man went viral on social media. He's since changed his tune, saying the man had been alive all along.
I think we've reached a stage where we can say religion, especially Christianity, is in a state of crisis in South Africa, and we need urgent answers. And I'm hoping the 6th Parliament will table this as one of its first issues that need tackling.
It remains to be seen whether the 6th Parliament will be able to deal with this thorny issue. That's because some of the controversial pastors are believed to be close to high-profile government officials.
Wow. Yeah, some of that is downright crazy. Some of it's kind of comical, and some of it's very sad. And some of that stuff is happening right here in the U.S., as we know. Greg had a great comment here. Greg says, "We will get real pastors when there is a real cry for them. The market for fake pastors is really big." So sad and so true. Great point, Greg. Fabian, and I need to get his comment here too, because it's right. Fabian says, "We need to be still and more, be still to be more popular." There's a link in my description. Almost every video I do on these shows, I put a link in the description to the 7-minute meditation, which is quite good. And I've done that or some version of it for a long time. It's been very, very useful. So you can look on the link in the description for the 7-minute Be Still and Know. And that's from Roy Masters. Excuse me, but I don't want to get too caught up in that today, but that is there because it is very, very important. And again, I don't want people to get caught up in, do I have to do this exactly or not? We can have that kind of conversation again. But the point is, even before we had Be Still and Know is great, or some version of that, of being still. But again, back in the day, before all that, people in America were at least following God in one way or another, in the best way they knew how. They were sincere. The most important thing, my voice is cracking, the most important thing is the sincerity of your heart. The sincerity, because if you're sincere, God will show you how to pray and how to follow him. So anyway, yes, objectivity is the path. I agree. Hello, Cindy is there. Hello, Cindy Jones. That's a cute little, that looks like that little dog that was in the Taco Bell. Wagyu Taco Bell. But hi, Cindy. All right, I'm going to wrap up real soon. We're getting to a point where I need to wrap. I'm just going to have one more step here because that's all I need. The 5th step. I've done acknowledge God, stop abortion, fathers back in the families, real pastors, not fake teachers. And we could say real prayer as well. Some type of prayer that is real, that is still, that brings you into a relationship with the Holy Spirit. That's what is key. And again, we'll talk probably in the future and do more prayer shows if you guys want to see them. Oh, that's Poppy the dog. Okay, cool. The early followers were not even called Christian. They were called the path. That's what Fabian said. Yeah, interesting. But it really is the path of the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit that we need, the Holy Spirit guides us. The Holy Spirit gives us all of those things that we need inside of us. All right. The last one here, step 5. And there are other steps you can name. Okay. I'm not saying these are the only steps, but I'm saying if you have these 5 steps, we're good. We're golden. We're not going to have these shootings going on. Okay. Hang on. I got to go to a disagreement. Step 1 covers all, being close to God. So I'll just bring in throw a little spice here at the end. Let's see. Sgt Francis says, I disagree. Paul set up churches before churches. There were synagogues because they help establish a moral social structure. That is true as well. All right. That's true too. Okay. The last step. This one will be maybe controversial, but I have to say it. In order to end mass shootings, there's a very important part here in addition, and that is we have a problem with government schools. Now, I could say end government. I think in this day and age, our federal government has become so corrupt and that they need to no longer be in charge of our schools, period, in my opinion, period. I don't think we need government schools anymore. I'm sorry. I know for a lot of you, maybe that's very convenient to be able to bring your kid to a public school. Maybe you have a really beautiful public school where you're at, but from the most part, what I've seen, that we can't trust the same government that we have now that's trying to do so much harm to this country. You don't think they're trying to harm the kids? They're trying to harm the kids in a big way. So I think that public schools, government schools got to go. At the very least, we need, what do you call that? Freedom in education? It's choice, school choice, okay? Where your tax money can go anywhere. That alone would probably get rid of public schools or make them so competitive that they'd be so much better than they are now. But we need at least choice in education, because just think of the kids that go into school from the time they're age 6, but now it's even much earlier. You're dropping them into like these programs and they're like 4 years old, daycare, even before that, all the way through college. What do you think happens after you put them through these factories? They're going to turn into someone who's just going to support the social order, the leftist order. Very, very bad. We got to get rid of schools. I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on that. Let me see. Or are you guys still arguing about church here? Yeah, I guess you're arguing about church here. Okay. Anyway, that's my last point. That's it for me. Thank you so much for being with me today. Did this help? Do you guys want to hear more of these kind of things? I want to start trying to do a show like on a certain day of the week, like Friday night, like I'm doing tonight at this time, 6 o'clock West Coast, 9 o'clock Eastern. Let me know if that works for you guys. I'd like to kind of start trying to be like in one spot and not trying to move around too much. So let me know if you want me to do that. Let me know what you guys may want to talk about. I'm thinking maybe we need to do a show on the recession. We're hearing so much about it and what we can start to do to prepare. Some of the stuff will be obviously spiritual, but there'll also be some physical stuff as well. All right. Let's take a couple more comments and then we're going to roll. Make sure to go to oldschools.com, oldschools.com. You can support me there if you'd like. I do need support, so I don't push it too hard, but hey, if I don't get financial support, getting financial support helps me make this show better, helps me be able to do the things I need. We can do something. We can really make this stuff grow and really get it out there further and further. But I need to get some help. And that starts with getting some financial help, even if it's a little bit a month or one time or $5 a month or whatever you can do. So I know we're going into recession thing. It's probably not so good to talk about money and recession at the same time. But the fact of the matter is I do need some help to make this thing go. All right. We do have one comment on public schools. The best public schools are terrible. Morality is out to lunch. Yeah. When you take prayer out of the public school, once prayer is gone, it's pretty much history. So anyway, think about those things. Again, go to oldschools.com. You can get in touch with me by emailing me at info@oldschools.com, info@oldschools.com. Thank you, everybody, for being with me tonight. And I hope this was helpful to some of you guys. And let's be doers of the word, not just hearers of the word, but let's do it. Let's be the salt and light. No matter how long we're going to be on this earth, I don't even know. I'm surprised I made it this far, to tell you the truth, but I'm still here. So I'm going to do everything I can to help this cause. But remember, God first. God first. That's the key. All right, guys. We will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on Declaration of Independence with Patrick Rooney. For more information on how to become more independent in a world that is moving quickly to take away your freedom, or to support this program, go to oldschoolus.com. See you next time.